Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you've never been here before. Either way, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Bobby, and today I have some interesting stories from Reddit to read to you. But before I get into it, please check and make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. I'm trying to get back into a consistent routine of posting and would really like to try and build some semblance of a community. So it would be great if you would subscribe and drop a like on this video. Also, if you have any asshole stories or any Reddit stories or any stories at all that you would like me to read, you can actually send them to my email, which is in the description box below this video. Without any further ado, let's jump right into these Reddit stories. Okay, this one's from r/AITAH, but the title says AITA for telling my wife she was a liar and leaving. My wife and mother have never, not even for a fraction of a second, gotten along. This was 100% my mother's fault. From the moment I dared to bring my wife home, my mom was hostile and saying my wife wasn't good enough for me and trying to get me to move back home. And yes, it's a culture thing. I'm Mexican, my wife is Irish. I cut my mom off for a very long time, and it really pained me to do so. But it wasn't worth losing my wife. Well, my wife found out we were having a baby in December of 22. We made the announcement in April, and somehow my mom found out. She started sending me mailed letters. I had her blocked on everything. And through mail, she expressed her desire to be a grandmother and apologized multiple times. She said uh, she would do better and be more accepting. After many, many long discussions with my wife, she caved and said my mom was welcome here for 4 days. She lives in Mexico, but we have a spare room. But I said I had better stand up for her endlessly if my mom acts up. But said I had better stand up for her endlessly if my mom acts up. I agreed. My mom saved up for months to travel this way. We're in Colorado. She got here 2 days ago. Everything was fine at first, but tonight, shit hit the fan. Basically, my wife still has trouble eating. She's still nauseous, and whenever her breast milk comes in, it makes her sick to her stomach. She also won't/can't eat when she's nursing because it makes her sick. Well, our daughter is cluster feeding, so my wife has a very small window of when she's able to eat. Well, my mom wanted to make a cultural dish tonight for dinner to treat us to a meal. But what she hadn't told us was that this meal takes around 4 hours to cook, and she started cooking at 4 p.m. My wife said she was going to eat something else because she couldn't wait that long to eat. And my mom was offended and said she was rude, which I immediately put a stop to and explained the situation. My mom stopped, but when my wife was eating, she kept giving her looks. I said, Mom, stop it right now. And she scoffed and said something under her breath and then turns to my wife and says, In my culture, this is unacceptable. Since you are raising a child in my family, you will learn better. My wife immediately screamed at her to shut the fuck up and let me eat or leave. My mom threw the hand towel, grabbed her stuff, and left. I was so hurt by the both of them. I told my wife she was a liar. She told me she would let me handle it, and she didn't. Instead, she made my mom leave. I know my mom was wrong, but why couldn't she do this for me? I then left. She didn't even try to stop me. She texted me and said, Why don't you go back with your mom? Am I the asshole? Bro, I was with you up until you called your wife a liar. Are you fucking kidding? Yeah, you're the asshole. How much do you really expect your wife to put up with? Come on. Um, and it looks like this is a pretty new post, but it looks like a lot of people are like, yeah, you're the asshole. Um, one comment, particular underscore title 42 says, You're the asshole. Shouldn't lie about anything. She gave your mother the option to shut the fuck up or leave. Your mom chose to leave. I'm going to say this again in case it's not clear. Your wife did not make your mother leave. Your mother made that big girl decision on her own. Particular Title 42 is right, and I agree. Beth 2121286 says OP shouldn't be surprised if he comes home to an empty house. I mean, talk about failing as a husband and partner. Yeesh. Your 8 marshmallows says you're the asshole. Do you understand how hungry you get when breastfeeding? He doesn't because he's a guy and he's never had to breastfeed. It's worse than when you're pregnant and your wife is already struggling to get enough calories in. You should have already moved your mom to a hotel slash Airbnb slash friend's house when she first started in on your wife. Your wife is tired, hormonal, and hungry, and your mom is entertaining herself by antagonizing your wife. You made a mistake reconnecting with your mom and should never have asked your wife to deal with her. Listen, I agree with that as well. Let's move on. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Am I the asshole for how I responded when my parents said they were getting a divorce? I, 16, female, am an only child. There have been no secret, sorry, this is written weirdly. There's been no secret that my mom and dad hate each other. I don't think a week has gone by without them having screaming matches, someone driving off in their car. You get the gist of it. This has been kind of hurtful to me as they've never done anything to me, but they have always dumped their feelings about each other on me. I've always heard everything, and yeah, no kid wants that. They've been talking about getting a divorce in almost every argument since I can remember. Like, I think that is one of their most used words ever. I've I've always hoped they would divorce. I love my parents, I do, but they also deserve a partner who loves them. So last night while we were having dinner, they told me they had some bad news and told me to please not get upset, that they have tried everything and so on. They then broke the news that they are going to divorce each other. I just said, "Oh, okay," and continued eating. They both started to cry and told me that I was insensitive, that I must have no feelings because who does not react to their parents' divorce and more stuff. They've been mad at me since because of my reaction. And when I talked to my friend, she told me it was really bad of me to react like that, even though I was happy about the news. Maybe I was an asshole for not reacting more, but I mean, I can't really force tears for something, for news I've waited my whole life to hear. Um, okay. So this one was really hard to get through because it was written really weird and it's a 16-year-old, so I'm not gonna um criticize their writing. However, I think the parents are kind of toxic based on this story. They're trauma dumping on their child about each other, and that's crazy. I mean, I have a 16-year-old and I would never do this to my kid. Then no, the kid's not the asshole, in my opinion. You're a kid. And also, Reddit has deemed this person not the asshole as well. Let's go in and read a couple of comments. Let's see. Random guy 81 says your reaction is normal. Nothing going on here besides you have drama parents. Another comment says, I mean, my reaction to what you described probably would have been a giant sigh, followed by finally. But then I'm kind of an asshole. That was fancy upstairs 5898. Yeah, everybody's saying pretty much the same thing. Like, yeah, like you reacted like you should have in this situation. So, yeah, you are not the asshole, my dear, and I hope your parents become less toxic in the future now that they're not together. Okay, we have a pretty long petty revenge here posted by user Matriome Synthos. And it's titled Move My Stuff and Yell at Me for, quote, losing it. I'll make you doubt yourself. Smiley face emoji. All right, looks like we have some gaslighting going on here. Let's dive into it. This happened 2 years ago and finally has an ending. Smiley face. I, now 17, female, have a father who is very strict about tidiness. He likes things to be placed in a very particular way. The thing is, I like to organize my room my own way. Our ways are very different. When I was 14, I kept the books and files on my desk in a very particular way. It was organized based on usage and importance, as I have ADHD, and that's just the easiest way for me to find things. Because of this, to the average eye, it looks a little bit like just a really tall pile of random stuff I put there to avoid looking at. To be fair, I had left it untouched for 4 months, but that's mostly because the pile consists of stuff I needed for my summer and winter jobs, so I only really used it during those times. That being said, my father didn't like that, so one day when I was at school, he moved parts of my pile he deemed himself as unimportant. Honestly, I didn't really notice for a while. But then one day I decided that I'd scan some important files for my job so that I won't lose them, only to find that the entire folder full of files had disappeared. I looked around and even looked at my brother and mother's desks, but it had completely vanished. I asked my dad, because he moves stuff a lot, but when I did, he started to yell at me. He said that I never knew how to keep my things properly, that I was lazy, careless, forgetful, unorganized, etc., and that I was delusional for thinking that someone else had moved it. He said that me having a job was a waste because I would never learn responsibility because I couldn't even bother to be responsible for something important. Jesus. He then ordered me to go look for it until I found it, or I'd get punished more slash yelled at more. Of course, I didn't find it. He held the fact that I had lost that folder over my head for the next 2 years and would yell at me occasionally about it whenever I misplaced something. Then, one day, when he tasked the entire family to help find his important document, I found a small box placed behind 4 larger boxes in the storage area of my house. Peeking out of it was a sticker I made for the lost folder. When I opened it, there it was in all its glory. Finally, I had proof that he had moved it because behind it was his storage behind boxes filled with his stuff. I was both relieved and livid. He moved it. He called me delusional, crazy, irresponsible. He yelled at me about it for 2 years while I cried each time. After I showed him, he didn't even apologize. He said that I should have kept it better, and if I did, I wouldn't have, quote, lost it. Here's the petty revenge. Since that day, about 1 year ago, I had started moving little bits and pieces of his stuff. Not to obscure places, because then I would be found out immediately, but a 1 to 2 meter radius between where he actually put it. Put down his cup of water and then left to take a phone call. It'll move from his desk to the random portable shelf thing he put some of his stuff on top of. Put down his phone to go to the toilet, one side of the desk to the other. His vape from shelf to the pen holder he had on his desk. His shirts, yes, he puts them in order. I'd changed the order of the shirts, which had the same color. I'd switch the old shoes at the bottom of his shoe rack every once in a while. He doesn't use them, but he notices that something moved and tries to figure out what. Little things like that for an entire year. Smiley face emoji. He would start yelling every time, claiming he swore he knew that someone took his stuff. But why would someone take his stuff only to put it a meter away? Laughing emoji. He stopped yelling around 5 months in and started commenting on how he was getting old and starting to forget where he put stuff. But anyway, during this year where I hid stuff, I was diagnosed with ADHD finally, and my dad started to learn stuff about ADHD, realized that my piling thing was actually really common. He also started to notice the patterns in which I put my stuff and commented less on it, even when I knew he wanted to. He actually went to a session with my therapist to ask more questions. Turns out most of the things he had issues with were about me were all symptoms of my ADHD. Who could have known, right? In parentheses, it says me, but it's chill now. Crying emoji, thumbs up emoji. It was also during this year that we realized that we were both mature enough to have a sit down conversations about things like adults or almost adults. We worked things out between us and promised not to drive each other crazy on purpose. So, after an entire year of moving his stuff, I confessed to him that he wasn't developing sudden short term memory loss. He just had a very petty daughter. Laughing emoji. He said he figured it out a month before I told him because he started to notice that when our relationship as father and daughter got better, his memory would get better too. Oh well, better luck next petty revenge, I guess. Sorry if the ending isn't that great, but I liked it, so I wanted to share. Might not be that satisfying for those reading, but I found it satisfying. Ha ha. Being petty is fun. Also, if you know me from my previous petty revenge story, ooh, there's more. Things are better with my mom too. We're chill now for the most part. Yay to happy endings. Okay, well, there was some back and forth gaslighting. Here's the thing. The ending, great. Couldn't have been better. But I feel like the father was almost, I don't want to say abusive, but it was kind of fucked up. It was kind of fucked up how he was treating his child. Um, Also, your child's room is their room. Leave their shit alone. Honestly. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. I don't have anything more to say about that. Let's end today's episode off with another Am I the Asshole? This one's fairly short, so let's just get into it. Am I the asshole for spoiling the fun at a dinner set up by my mom to celebrate my husband's and my anniversary? Yesterday was my 36 female wedding anniversary. My mom wanted to treat me and my husband, so we went to a restaurant. My sister and her young son also joined in. We adults had a few drinks and were laughing and having lots of fun. Then the topic started of how I was secretly dating my husband before our marriage and how my mom found out. She told me that she saw changes in my behavior and suspected I was dating someone. But yesterday, she mentioned she read a love note I had written, which she read. Yeah, you just said that. I don't recall writing any love note to my husband during our dating period. We would majorly communicate on WhatsApp. My husband started teasing my mom that she was reading my private messages, and mom kept quiet and smiling. Initially, I thought they were just joking, but it soon dawned on me that my mom really read my private messages. I felt very hurt, betrayed, and shocked. I was also irritated that my husband thought it was funny that my mom used to read my messages. I didn't find it funny at all. It upset me. We'd finished dinner and paid the bill by then, so I ended the evening and made a move to leave. I was upset with my mom for reading my private messages and with my husband for thinking it's funny. My husband says I'm overreacting for something that happened years ago. My mom sent an apology message later. And now I feel like I ruined the fun for everyone. Am I the asshole? So this is pretty mild, I think, considering some of the heavy stuff we've seen before. But Reddit collectively has deemed this person not the asshole. And let's just read a couple of the top comments here. Um, FAFO-13 says, not the asshole. Your mom violated your privacy. Doesn't matter when it happened. Now you are stuck wondering what else she stuck her nose in. She deserves to know you are pissed. I would also make sure she knows you now no longer feel like you trust her. And that's yeah, agreed. Let's see what other comments are here to respond. This person have has a little story in their response. This is called Eins2, or that's the user Eins2. And it says, I was 30 when I found out my stepmom had recorded and listened to every phone conversation I ever had in middle and high school, including those with my bio mom and high school boyfriend. It was sickening. I was in super shock and couldn't even do a whole lot because I found out on a big important day that I didn't want to spoil. A decade later, and my bio brother still doesn't know. I feel sick at keeping the secret, but I'm pretty sure his rocky relationship with stepmom would never recover. Would it make it worse if I said we lived in a two-party consent state, so this behavior was literally criminal? ETA, even if she found a loophole because it was her phone, house, minor child, it would still have been undeniably criminal because the other party sure as heck didn't consent, not that I did either. And they end the post saying, Fuck her. And there are actually a lot of other stories similar to this in the comments. So, guys, if you're parents, uh, give your kids some fucking privacy, okay? They need their own privacy. Yes, be a parent. Yes, have an overall general idea of what they're doing, but you don't need to listen to their calls. You don't need to go through their shit, unless they're giving you reason to do so. Leave them alone. I mean, be a parent, but let them be individual adults, especially if they're like in high school. Come on, they're learning how to be uh they're learning how to be grown-ups, and they can't do that if you're constantly hovering over them going through all their shit. So, what do you guys think? Let me know. That is all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for listening to these stories. I, again, really appreciate you clicking on my video today. Please drop a like and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will see you all next time. Thanks. Bye.